Well, how likely is it that big tech in the US will join those banks to distance themselves from Trump's immigration policies? Well, for that and more, I'm joined by Susan McPherson in New York. She's founder and CEO of McPherson Strategies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rachelle. I'm happy to be here.
So when these companies act in a way that conflicts with their employees' beliefs, how should company leaders address this?
Well, employees are a company's absolute most valuable asset. So the first thing a CEO and the C-suite of a company should be doing is listening and giving the employees a voice. That is absolutely tantamount because employees now have the resources available to them to be able to go outside the company to make a statement, like we saw with Wayfair.
And obviously Wayfair is the most recent example of employee social activism. But how is that different, say, from how unions organize to protest employment or wage issues?
Yeah. Very similar, but we have seen the steady decline of the power of unions in the United States. So clearly we are seeing, because of that slack, employee resource groups, employee working groups are taking over some of that power. And this isn't as new as it may sound. It literally was bubbling up from employees 6 or 7 years ago that helped pass marriage equality as quickly as it passed in the United States. And we've seen, yes, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, not all companies listen to their employees, unfortunately, as we saw with Wayfair. So overall, how effective are employees' demands for change?
Well, again, it depends on the size and scope and industry of the company and obviously the public opinion that is happening at the time that is going to potentially cause ruckus for the company in the long haul. Following the horrible shootings at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School last year in Florida, employees at companies all over the country stood up to fight for proper gun use or gun sense. And this was the first time in this country you had employees going to their employers and saying, we need to do something about this.
And it's interesting.
So this is...
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Well, as companies are increasingly being asked to really take a position on these polarizing social issues, can company leaders really afford to stay silent anymore?
Absolutely not. My company just helped orchestrate a campaign called Don't Ban Equality, that we saw 340 company CEOs sign a letter that was printed in the New York Times in an ad that basically were fighting the recent abortion bans in various states in this country. And obviously that was a very difficult decision for companies to take, but they are realizing in this day and age with Gen Z and millennial employees pushing the agenda. And in tech industries, or many tech companies, these employees own a large amount of shares of stock. So they have the power to also put pressure on the financial happenings of the company.
So to that point then, are we seeing the same sort of traction from shareholder activism when it comes to shaping corporate social responsibility?
Most specifically, we are seeing it in all issues around climate change mitigation and climate policies. And that is mainly because if an investor is thinking of the long haul of an investment, that investor or the investment fund is going to want to make sure that that company is around in 20 years, given all of the predictions by scientists talking about what will come if we are not properly preparing and mitigating for climate change.
So you have shareholder activism, you also have now obviously more employee social activism, and of course consumers all having a bigger say, especially with social media and these boycotts really getting amplified. How should the companies of today prepare themselves, since this trend does not seem to be going away when it comes to shaping corporate culture?
No. Companies, surveys that are done by Mercer and Deloitte and Cone Communications, and Edelman, all cite that employees want to work at companies they perceive are taking stands on social issues and are being purposeful and making that an intentional choice by the company. So our recommendation, after reading all of these studies and talking to many corporations as well as various industry associations like BSR and others, companies should start listening for the future of their own organizations and the future of public opinion, and to keep their employees at bay. But it's never going to be an easy decision, and the most important thing they can be doing is offering their employees a safe space where these discussions can be happening.
Certainly very important. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Susan McPherson there,
Thank you.
founder and CEO of McPherson Strategies.